Well, tomorrow will mark 30 years since the Port Arthur Massacre, Australia's deadliest shooting by a single person. Mike Amor joins me live from the historical site in Tasmania. Mike, a private service will be held there tomorrow.
Yes, Chris, that's right. And it's proof 3 decades on that time doesn't heal all wounds. A lot of thought has gone into tomorrow. They're calling it Words of Love, a day of quiet reflection. It will be private because the organisers recognise that the survivors and people who lost loved ones here come here with different memories, different grief, different needs. At 1 o'clock they will gather in the Memorial Garden, which was built around the remnants of the Broad Arrow Cafe, where 20 people were gunned down in the space of just seconds. They will hear from a survivor and a local resident, and then at 1:30 a minute's silence will be held to mark the time that the shooting began. Wreaths will be laid at a hue and pine cross that carries the names of all 35 victims. This place has seen a lot of grief. Chris, no doubt tomorrow will again be filled with emotion.
Mike, I recall you were there at the time on that assignment. You've had a chance to speak to some of the survivors as well. What do they want Australians to know on this anniversary?
I was here all those years ago, and we have been speaking to survivors. It's a difficult conversation. They say it was a split second that for them has lasted a lifetime. We spoke to Kathy Gordon, who was in the Broad Arrow Cafe, just left before the shooting began. She's always struggled after seeing the brutal murder of Nanette Nikak and her 2 gorgeous daughters. She also had a shot fired at her. She has since struggled with PTSD, had thoughts of taking her own life, and has at times been homeless, but she has now learned to live alongside that grief. We also spoke to Anita Bingham, who was just 17. She was working in the local tea house when the shots rang out. Like a lot of people here, she thought it was part of a reenactment, was initially drawn outside but later huddled inside. She only recently had a nightmare about being chased by the gunman. But they're speaking out bravely because they don't want Australians to forget the lessons of that terrible day, Chris.
Such difficult memories. All right, Mike Amor live for us. This afternoon. Thank you for that.
Somebody's gone crazy shooting people.
In the afternoon of April 28, 1996, Tasmania's quiet started peninsula erupted into chaos. Inside the Broad Arrow Cafe, visitors from across Australia were lined up for lunch, browsing souvenirs, chatting, taking photos, never suspecting that within seconds, their lives would be torn apart. At 1:30 p.m.,
usually what I would do when I felt in that exact way would be to shave my head, but I didn't do that this time.
He sat near a group of diners. He ordered a meal. He waited.
I dyed my hair
without warning,
black.
He stood up,
still trying to
reached
get used
into the
to
bag,
it.
and opened fire. The cafe exploded with screams.
It's good
Chairs
fun.
toppled.
It's interesting
People ran
to
in every
change
direction,
things.
trying to escape a scene that made no sense. The sound of gunfire echoed through the timber walls, spilling out onto the
show how
grounds of
bad
the
this
Port
fucking
Arthur
camera
Historic
is, though.
Site.
It's funny because I'm watching.
Dozens of people were shot.
Basically, what I do
Many
every
lay
day is I
wounded on the
watch the
floor
videos
as others
of
fled
last
into the
year,
gift shop, onto the lawns,
speaking about this
anywhere they
issue
could hide.
with my phone,
Tasmania police began
had a good
receiving
camera.
frantic calls.
and then I
Tourists
kind
on
of
the
cobble
roads
them
nearby
together
tried to
to
turn
make
their
like a
cars
strategy.
around. Locals locked their doors.
Basically, because
No one
my
yet understood the
consensus is
scale
that
of what was unfolding.
there is
Only
a
that something terrible was happening
section
in the most peaceful places in
of power
Australia.
dynamics around the world
What
that is
began inside a cafe would soon
has
spread
used
across
this
the peninsula.
this concept of like humiliation, so they can basically back you into a corner and then look strange. They say, "Oh, look, that's strange." And then literally the only way to do that is to like preempt that and then create something like what I've done here. And kind of navigate through like 4 years at the same time. Just focus. It's the same target. The same target is exposure of this concept of liberation of myself. So it's like, but part of it is it's really boring because I've had to put on hold all the things that I would be doing if I wasn't having to defend myself against this. So that requires this commitment, and so different things like playing pretend, changing my appearance is a strategy to occupy my mind while I'm doing that. Which is that's what I do. That's like a hobby that I would do if I was stably able to do what I would be doing if I wasn't having to defend myself against this. And yeah. So I guess I've decided at this stage, based on the amazing concept that we had yesterday, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and also, sorry, I'll have to excuse myself, I'm very, very sick at the moment. I think I'm probably this cold sore thing, which I have, which amazingly, and this is the biggest thing that I should probably know, is, so since there's a certain girlfriend I had, I'm pretty sure I ordered off her like cold sores, and I've been getting them basically here. And with it, like whenever I was really stressed, I'd get this cold sore, and then with that, I would also, like about every 3 times, I would get really sick, and that's what I have now. I have that type of sickness. It's either that or an allergic reaction from the hair dye, which could be as well, because it happened right after, or a combination of both. But amazingly, the cold sore that I have here has moved to the back of my left hand, which is a massive, like that's, it's not complete victory, but I'm really happy that it's moved to a place that is less problem. Just, funnily enough, that virus is called Epstein-Barr. I personally think that interaction like the body and how much it's affected, and the concept that this Epstein thing is all over the news. I personally think that is statistically unlikely, so I believe it's more than likely there's something very strange going on with that whole world. But I'm not going to get into that today. I'm going to get into the concept that, or the fact that I've decided to relocate to Ireland. To Ireland. I'd like to go back to Ireland now, considering that I'm actually Irish. I'm going to have to get a lot better at the accent, so I'm going to have to listen to
historic site more than once, walking its grounds,
some Bewitched
observing the
albums or
crowds,
something like
and
that.
returning to the same familiar
Start
spaces
watching
he had
Irish
visited
television.
as a
I don't know.
tourist years earlier.
But basically,
Nothing that drew public attention. Nothing he said.
I'm
revealed
declaring
what he was
that
thinking, but his choices
Australia
were the
is
places he returned
basically.
to
I think our Australian government has literally built a Mad Max arena
and even the times of day he chose were all
from the
locations
wonderful
in the
foundation that we laid,
were
but it's turned it
and deeply
in combination with
embedded
these
Then,
technologies,
in
these
Sunday,
tools, these cameras, these
April
phones, these all this other shit.
1996.
The family court, even, nothing's sacred.
Without disturbance,
Has turned it into like a Mad Max Coliseum arena in which all the families of the world, all the ethnicities are going to do battle in Australia, kind of like a giant Australian Squid Game.
He left his home in
And I'm just not down for that. I've paid my dues. My family has been here for a combined 333 years. Both sides, so 180 years
no rush, no visible tension.
on one side and 140 or something on the other. So it's,
The small guest house
I'm done. And basically, I look around Australia and I don't want to live here.
No one witnessed what happened inside. But
I think the Australian
that Bryant shot and killed
identity has had too much put on it. Like, I think there's too many things attempted to be hung upon something. I think it's a very dangerous concept, a very dangerous practice to attempt to build a culture, especially by sticky taping other cultures together. And from what I've already experienced, it's like I'm not up for that anymore. I'm not really that up for a lot of things. I don't really want to have many interactions with people unless I choose to. It's like 1% of my life would be involved in socialising. So I don't want to live on the Australian cruise ship anymore, which I think is fine. I mean, look at me now. Now that I have black hair, probably everyone will be like, "Oh right, you just used to go and live in a cave or something, listen to sad music." I'm like, yeah, that's basically what I've been trying to do my whole life. And counterintuitively, that's when I'm the most happy. So it's just, I'm a cold climate person. That's how we used to live. We would gather up our things and then we'd live in the cold, in the dark. And I'm kind of down for that. And basically, when I looked at property in Ireland, all I could see was just every single property was something that I would way rather than anything I've ever seen in Australia. And amazingly affordable.
Right here, just have a take a hood off so the cool material. And I just watched Skelly come and take prenatal.
In about 15 seconds, a dozen people were shot.
Basically declaring, someone said she can help that, and she's like, no, I'm not going to let you have it. You've got to just face it, that Albanese is going to win. What is this? Do you understand? You can't live in Fremantle, one of the most expensive, ridiculous places on earth, that you've stolen from the working class, because that was a port. And so as the shipping community has been taken by international shipping and automation, all this distribution and teaming, those people have been pushed offshore, and you've kind of taken their place with this yuppie nonsense where you float around saying always was, always. No, it wasn't always theirs. They didn't use it the same as we do. They didn't have private ownership, which it seems like all of you don't care about. You can't squeeze your ideology through the needle, through the eye of the needle that is required to actually do any change. You have been birthed from the most spoilt, the most entitled, the most ridiculously wealthy women that have ever existed. They were so wealthy that they came up with the concept that they were actually enslaved and then issued this warrant to the rest of humanity, which did not lead to anything globally resembling what they claim it does. In fact, it just polarised the world, in which you just enslaved your own men and destroyed them. You expose our new sons to this ridiculous, genderless, religionless, senseless fucking ramble of fucking cult-like fucking behaviour. While on the other side of the world, you celebrate this Islamist culture that is literally enslaving women, which has gotten worse since your demands of your culture have been forced to be reckoned with. You cannot appear holier than thou and attempt to exhibit or initiate change on a system like this.
Inside Seascape,
It doesn't work.
Bryant held hostage a
So
man
stop
named Glenn
trying.
whom he had captured during his earlier movements.
Stop
when he abandoned
trying
the stolen BMW
to
and
walk
taken from the
this
road.
narrow pathway of
For the
appearing
rest of the
holier
afternoon
than
and
thou
throughout the night,
with every
police
new
established a
trend
perimeter
that
around
comes on
Seascape.
the
Bryant fired
Twitter
intermittently
feed
at
of
officers
the
who
crunchy
attempted
mums
to approach,
of the
forcing
fucking
them to withdraw
army
and
of
negotiate from
fucking
distance. He
do-gooding,
refused to surrender and gave orders
nightmarish witches,
The
which is
siege
what you
stretched on
are
for more than 18
in the
hours.
modern age.
At dawn the next
This
morning,
isn't a call
smoke
to
began
go and
rising
round
from
you up
inside Seascape.
and chase you
Flames
down to
spread
the
quickly
churchyard
through
in
the
order to stick you up a stake.
Bryant attempted to escape through the back of the burning structure.
It's a call
With severe burns
to
across
pop
much of his body,
the bubble
he
of
stumbled into the
circumstance
yard
that
where police
makes you
moved in
believe that
and
you're
arrested him
actually
without
doing
resistance.
anything.
Inside the charred remains of the house, officers found the bodies of David and Nolene.
You
Martin
cannot play
and
the
hostages.
Casino Royale top class property hierarchy, high ladder of fucking whatever.
Concluded at the
Not
scene
always based on the size of your house. Sometimes it's the location. And I live in Fremantle. And I can go down to a cafe and get some foreigner to pour me a coffee while I whinge about the politicians in Canberra. This is the height of ridiculous socialist mentality that is being piped out of the universities that I built. And considering that I was under the false assumption that those universities were pumping out the future leaders of our country that are going to be uniquely fulfilled with the knowledge required in order to actually bring change for it, but they weren't. They were indoctrination centres for a bloated, yuppie socialism that is leaving the door wide open for our enemies and stomping those dispossessed by your utopian technocracy, stomping their skulls into the curbs of the streets that they once called home. That is you. And all of your University of Western Australia, Curtin University, Edith Cowan cohort. So why, exactly, why should I not go to these universities and remove my contribution to them and leave giant air holes for the rain, the sun, and the locusts and the frogs to wander in and to disrupt your lectures? Because this is what you are continuously doing to those who built, repair, and conceptualize the physical reality outside of your little dreamlike princess bedroom. You may call yourself a feminist, environmentalist, but you're not. My feminism extends to the actual women in the world that are being dispossessed by your consumerist mentality, veiled by this aesthetic of natural or not natural. Goddess energy. That demand is what is leading to the trying to do the same impossible task that you are, because you are setting the example.
Unlike anything they had ever encountered.
And you're ashamed of your past, just like the men have been made ashamed of their past. You are too. You don't want to be the wife of some station owner that has employees and deals with the ground and animals. You want to be some fucking hippie politician that cannot do politics.
That had become makeshift treatment areas. Helicopters were called from Hobart to transport.
I'm
the
sorry
most
if this makes
seriously
you
wounded.
cry.
But many of the first
But
treatments
who
were
told you
administered
that
by
this wasn't
tourists and
somewhere
staff
that could
who had
potentially
medical
upset you?
backgrounds and rushed to assist.
Who made you believe
Police quickly locked
that
down the
this
site and
arena
began evacuate in
was
groups of
fit
survivors,
for this type
guiding
of
them to
strategy?
safer areas while they attempted to confirm
I'd say it's the same
gunman's
people that
location.
made everyone believe
At
that.
that time, they did not know Brian
That made
had
everyone
already
believe
left
that this
Port Arthur
arena
and
is
was
this
on his way back to
pristine,
Seascape.
clean as a whistle little,
Officers
you know,
moving through the ground
social club where we all
described
gather
scenes of
around and
difficult
decide exactly what colour we paint the fucking wall. Well, that's not how it works.
Moments earlier had been
That's the
enjoying
veneer
the
that they
silent
paint
on the floor.
to lure helpless
mid-afternoon,
little
detectives had
rich
pieced together
girls
that the yellow
in the
Volvo
masses
seen leaving the
into
site
their
belonged to Martin
dormitories
Bryant,
of
a
fucking
name some officers
destruction.
recognized due to previous interactions. A statewide alert was issued, but by the time police arrived at Seascape, Bryant had already seen leaving the site belonged to Martin Bryant, a name some officers recognized due to previous interactions. The statewide alert was issued, but by the time
Take up the
police
mantle
arrived
of
at Seascape,
responsibility.
Bryant had already taken up hostage.
Downsize from your little abode in the hottest little city, town, whatever you want to call it, artistic hub, and go and fucking create a structure that actually does any of the things that you wish this structure that you're trying to gently tap on the window and just hand you a pamphlet. That is a responsibility that men would be doing if they weren't gagged and fucking tarred and feathered in the street by your feminist cohort.
And early reports varied widely because the scene had been so large and spread out. Doctors at the hospital worked through the afternoon and
There is no endgame. There is no ship filled with beautiful, glowing, locked, wealthy men waiting to marry you and give you the life of your dreams and allow you to play politics. They're all gone. We were the last, and you took us for granted and continue to.
Close the door, lay down upon the floor, and by candlelight,
Alright, I just had a take the hood off some of the material.
'cause I have run away. I have run away, yeah, yeah. I have run away.
In the westernmost reaches of Europe, there is an island that sits as a final, rugged punctuation mark before the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. It is a land defined by its profound and timeless relationship with the sea, a place of rolling green hills partitioned by a filigree of ancient stone walls, and a culture shaped by a history as deep and turbulent as the waters that surround it. This is Ireland. From the air, it appears as a patchwork quilt of 40 shades of green, a landscape softened by persistent rain and bathed in a unique, ethereal light that painters have for centuries tried to capture. Its coastlines are a study in dramatic contrasts. The wild, formidable cliffs of the west, relentlessly carved by the Atlantic's raw power, and the gentler, indented shores and sandy coves of the east. This is a land of immense physical beauty, but its true character lies not just in the scenery, but in the spirit of its people. To look closer is to discover a nation that is both ancient and profoundly modern, a society that holds its storied past in one hand and reaches for a global future with the other. This is a story not of isolation, but of connection, to the land that has nurtured its people for millennia, to the stories and songs that carry its soul, and to the communities that form the very bedrock of its existence. This is the story of the quiet rhythm of life in Ireland. Life in Ireland is governed by a rhythm that is at once gentle and resilient. It is a pace dictated not by the frantic urgency of the modern
look
world,
at that. If you
but
just
by the
like,
steady turning
if
of
you're
the
typing
seasons
Magna Carta
and the
YouTube
subtle,
right there,
ever-present
I'll take that as-
influence
this
of
is-
the
this
weather.
is library.
The Irish have a deep,
This is-
almost poetic relationship with the
What is
elements.
Magna Carta? And it's
The rain
3
is not
minutes
just
and
a
33
meteorological
seconds.
event.
I'm just going to
It
take
is
that
a
as
soft,
the title
life-giving
sign
force
that this is,
that
the
nourishes
Crisco,
the land, a constant
and I think we've got a
companion
really good
that
chance
shapes the
of
day
finally giving
and
those
deepens the
politicians
impossible
good old
green
taste
of
their
the
own
landscape.
medicine, don't you think?
A soft day, as they call a misty, drizzly morning, is spoken of with a certain
look at that.
fondness,
If you just,
an
like,
acceptance
if you
that
type
this is
in
the weather
Magna Carta
that made the
YouTube
island
right there,
what it
I'll
is.
take that as
This profound embrace of nature's moods has cultivated a national character of
what
immense
is Magna
patience,
Carta, and it's
a
3
wry
minutes
and
and
often
33 seconds.
self-deprecating sense of humor, and a deep appreciation for the simple fleeting beauty of a sun-drenched afternoon, which is never, ever taken for granted. The island is home to just over 5 million people, a small population for a nation whose cultural footprint is felt in every corner of the globe. This creates an atmosphere of pervasive familiarity, a sense of being part of a large, extended, and sometimes...
So basically one thing we have to know is our
In
whole
small towns and
politicians
villages
that keep telling us
dot the
that it's
countryside from the fertile heart of the Midlands
they exist
to the
because of
coastal
a
Gaeltacht
original
regions,
concept called
where the
Magna
Irish
Carta,
language
which
still
limited the power of the
thrives
king.
as the mother tongue. And
It's a long
ability
story.
is
Go
a
and
rare
Google
commodity.
it or look on the
The more
YouTube
to the local shop
and you'll
for
be
a
able to
newspaper
learn all
and a
about
loaf
it
of
in
bread
this wonderful
is a
age of
social
free
ritual,
information.
a journey
Now,
punctuated by
basically,
unhurried greetings, by
The
conversations
last
about
time
the
there was a
weather,
European
the fortunes of the local
communist
Gaelic
revolution, they
team,
killed the royal
and
family
everyday
because
affairs
the
of
royals
community.
are the enemy of
Life
communists.
moves at a human
What
pace.
China did, that's why there are no emperors in China anymore, despite all the
The
violence
daily rhythm of
with
Irish
emperors.
life is anchored in the
It's kind of what they
steadfast
do.
culture of community.
So inevitably the communists in our country are going to attempt
The day
to
often
either
begins with the familiar
revolutionise
sounds
the country
of
or
the
kill
community waking up.
our king,
The distant chime
Charles, or
of
if you
church
prefer, the future king, King William,
making its rounds,
whichever
the
you
cheerful
fancy.
greetings of neighbours
But that's not really important. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, once we can prove that this government now, underneath the crown supposedly, is trying to establish powers beyond the original concept of Magna Carta, we can all then just claim Magna Carta again on the politicians. And this is the moment we're at. And this is how we all collectively save good old King Charles, who is sitting there just basically helpless while these piranhas around him circle. And you don't even have to do it to save King Charles. You can do it to save yourself, because King Charles is like the hyper manifestation of your potential glory underneath God. And so once you realise that, then you saving this figure, the king, saved yourself from the new king, attempted king of the politicians established by the king under knife at sword point during Magna Carta. So all we need to all say is Magna Carta, the sequel, and then point at Roger Cook, and point at Anthony Albanese, and probably point at Keir Starmer, and probably point at Donald Trump, and we need to go back to Magna Carta, and we need to re-establish a new Magna Carta with the new technologies that we have to basically circumvent all this bureaucratic red tape and get to a place where all of our voices are indeed actually heard. And this will break the herd mentality that this current usurper politicians, these current usurper politicians and global economic leaders have gained. This will all happen like lickety-split because there is precedent for it. And so when there is precedent, hard and fast precedent, then we can act very quickly because the law's already there. The law is a wonderful thing. It will enable this revolution to be completely peaceful. The usurpers will submit their power under
a fundamental principle that continues
non-violent
to define
revolutionary means, and we will re-establish a sufficient structure that more adequately reflects our current technological period. I'm excited. I hope you are too. That's why I directly talk to the king. I'm like the king's bodyguard in the digital environment down under. Not because I'm some type of spy, but because I'm concerned with my own ability to self-automate myself under God. And I'm very much like the barons or the landowners that got together and held the king up. I'm doing the same. And now we have this other level where I'm doing this in order to protect the king. which in turn protects the environment. Isn't it wonderful to be in a constitutional monarchy? Because the Americans, the United States of America specifically, they're going to have a nightmare situation with the elections because they don't have that structure. So they are going to have to be in a position where they either decide that Donald Trump is the king or defer back to Charles and go back. And this is basically the world that I've woken up to this morning. The reason I put eyeliner on is because it makes my eyes pop. It just kind of makes me feel a little bit more,
To hear it spoken is to hear the echo of 1,000 years of history. A language of immense poetry and nuance, perfectly suited to describing the subtle shifts of light on a hillside or the deep melancholy of the sea. This powerful oral tradition is most vibrantly expressed in the culture of storytelling and music. Ireland is a nation of storytelling.
And I'm kind of down with that. And basically, when I looked at property in Ireland, all I could see was just every single property was something that I would wave rather than anything I've ever seen in Australia.
And in the works
and
of its
amazingly
world-renowned
affordable.
writers, from Joyce to Yeats. It is in the folk songs,
So yeah,
the ballads of love,
I guess,
and
you know,
emigration.
on the ledger of Australia, it's like I've done an exchange program with my children's mother, who brought her grandmother brought their entire family here, which was like I think there was 10 of them.
It is an informed
Right, so 10 Irish into Australia, into the wonderful Australian foundation at least that my family contributed to. One out.
as it was centuries ago.
One out back to Ireland. I personally think they should give me a big section of Ireland because, 10 people.
A shared democratic
But
experience that connects every
I know the Irish are not really down for that considering
but immense pride
I'm also English, so I guess I'll just buy a piece of land and then live in Ireland.
and often difficult history.
And then constantly have to prove
Emigration,
how Irish I am.
resilience,
I don't know
survival,
what's involved in that. Considering I don't drink, I might have a hard time. But I think Irish people didn't used to drink.
a national holiday.
You know, it was the English. They fucking flooded the place with alcohol, and that's why everybody drinks there. It's a fucking, it's a divisive tool. It's the same as anything. So, yeah, I look forward to defending Ireland from those fucking hideous English people, including myself. So if I do feel a little bit English, I'm basically going to be like that guy in the Da Vinci Code that not really. I'll do this. I'll be like,
This pride is
We're
also
like, I
seen
feel like
every
to-
weekend on the pitches
Well, no,
of the
I'm
Gaelic
Irish.
Athletic Association, or GAA, where local clubs compete
yeah, it does create a
in
weird
ancient
situation
sports,
because
Gaelic
it means that
and
like
hurling.
somehow the Australian government has somehow
fast-paced game
convinced my
played with a wooden
majoritively
stick
Irish
and a hard
ex-partner
leather
to
ball.
betray
These
Ireland
clubs
and
are the heart
her
of
family
every parish,
in an attempt
a
to try and
source
kill
of immense
and
local
colonise
identity and a focal point
Australia
for community
on
life.
behalf of Australia
Land and the sea have
and
always
paid
been
her and
provided
financed her
for
and
the
fed her
Irish
booze
people.
and turned her into an
For
alcoholic. And it's like,
centuries, the economy was built
that's
on the
not
bedrock
fucking
of
nice, is it?
agriculture and the rhythm of
Yeah.
farming life.
And then basically it's like,
still
why should I be
dictates the
allowed
pace
to
of much of the
become
country.
an Irish citizen?
The
Well, because I'm
landscape
Irish.
is a testament
I'm
to this
Irish on both
heritage.
sides.
A mosaic of small
And
fields divided
my
by
children
stone
are Irish.
walls, a pattern created by
And
generations of
I'm going to
farmers
defend
living in
Ireland
harmony with
against
terrain.
the Irish that have forgotten that they're Irish and are trying
Nourished by
to
the
ruin the
Atlantic
Irish
rain,
reputation around the
producing
world.
milk
And
that
it's,
is turned into butter and cheese.
do you know what I mean?
prized around the world.
And I personally think that we can all be friends between England and Ireland and Scotland and Wales. I think we need to fucking close the doors.
Intricate stitch,
Which I know is, you might think that's fucking hypocritical because I'm like, hey, let me in and then we're going to shut the doors.
from County
But
Donegal to County Cork, the fishing industry remains a vital.
it's true.
vitality.
It's like
The return of the trawlers to the
you
harbour
can't
is a
manage
tangible link
that many people that are acting recklessly and doing this like with this flag of Ireland. It's like it's a little island.
is a story of
It doesn't make sense now. It's like leave it alone. And I think it's the same with England. I think and the same with Britain. It's like leave us alone.
the anchor. The nation
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be like the Americans, and the Americans went to America, they say they're American, and yeah, they kind of mention their heritage, but it's like, that's not what Australia was doing. Australia was supposed to be a constitutional monarchy. Turns out our Australian government, tried to create some type of false, paperwork for Queen or King. And they're doing some nonsense where they're paying militia, who are Irish people, right? And it's like, basically, those Irish people that have come here and pretended to be police officers in order to, colonise. It's like, that's some pretty bad shit on Ireland's books. Ireland appears to be, the British Empire in this period, especially considering that Apple is headquartered there, Google is headquartered there, all these online gambling things are headquartered there, and it looks empty and no one's farming there. So Ireland is like it's an offshore island. It's like an offshore financial haven. And basically, if it's going to act like that, I would like to, manage the land appropriately and plant some fucking trees. It's not just because it's like, why do we need to plant trees in Australia? Because we need the shade. Why do we need to plant trees in Ireland? Because we need to burn the wood to keep warm. Right, and it's like, it's figuring out how we balance all of these things in the global marketplace. But I think it's like, if you want to call yourself Irish, then you should buy a license to say that. You know what I mean? We've got to start thinking a whole lot more British if we're going to actually be Irish. Take it or leave it. But there's a million ways that we can figure this out and secure ourselves into the future, and secure our heritage, which I love. I basically love all of Irish heritage except for this defeated victim archetype. You know what I mean? And maybe I've had the benefit of vitamin D down here and warm weather. I don't know, but I just think that it's time. I think when the most powerful technological companies in the world are headquartered on your little island, I think it should start reflecting that.
The full Irish breakfast, a formidable plate
and I
of
think
bacon,
I've shown that
eggs, black and white and fried tomatoes.
Basically, this is a strange social phenomenon that these tools are actually really good. It's just that most people aren't using them, and I think it's because most people are just cashing their victim card. You can't be empowered while presenting like this. Oh, sorry, you can't be a victim. You have to be empowered.
Every moment of crisis,
that's the whole point.
Is accompanied by the offer of a cup of tea. It is a simple act of hospitality, a gesture of warmth and welcome that says, sit down, take your ease. You are welcome here. While the culinary scene is evolving, with innovative chefs in the cities reimagining Irish ingredients and farmers' markets, showcasing artisanal cheeses and smoked salmon, the heart of Irish food culture remains firmly in the home. A shared Sunday roast with the family, a simple, satisfying meal made with local ingredients, remains the truest and most authentic taste of the island.
I think the inevitable question that we have to ask ourselves is, say there were aliens or spiritual beings or anything, what exactly would we want to know from them? Because all that I see humans concerned about is whether they're right or someone else is right, or what is the meaning of everything, what answer would be sufficient. And you may think this is a dead simple thing, but it isn't, because this is the core of all our arguments globally that make us kill each other. So the illusion that some type of ethereal being can just come down here and put an end to all that, what makes us believe that would actually be possible?
This environment
Surely first we would have to present a unified set of ears to be able to hear such a message. Because by my calculations, it would be so unbelievably complicated. They would have to break all types of conceptions of statistical analysis, timeline. They would have to interfere at such a deep level that it couldn't be confused by one of their enemies. They would have to align with some type of humanity level event just to have a chance in hell of peacefully making their presence known. And I just can't for the life of me imagine how they could possibly do that. And even more strangely, I believe that if they were to do that in this current 360 degree 24/7 chocolate coated egg culture, the vast majority of humans would simply miss it. And all the noise. I think the inevitable question that we have to ask ourselves is,
life here is lived with a deep appreciation for the outdoors, for the wild, magnificent, and ever-changing beauty that is the very essence of the Irish landscape. For all its rural charm and ancient landscapes, Ireland is a thoroughly modern and well-connected country. A network of motorways now links the major cities.
Strange social phenomenon. These tools are actually really good. It's just that most people aren't using them. And I think it's because most people are just cashing their victim card. You know, you can't be empowered while presenting like this. Oh, sorry, you can't be a victim. You have to be empowered. That's the whole point. That's why they don't know how to deal with it. The minute you turn a camera on and start talking, it's like you're...
Yeah, but I want to believe. That's the problem.
And I'd like to see a whole
oh, come on. This is no fun. I want it to be real.
From Ireland.
I want there to be at least be some advanced propulsion system. If not, like, what are all these people seeing? Like, what is happening if we're not being occasionally visited by
worshipping Irish people that have left? It's like, you didn't have to leave. And I think this is in no better way reflected than in my personal, parental unit that broke down under these same circumstances. Like, I don't want to live in the suburbs and drink vodka every night and watch fucking Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It doesn't matter whether I'm in Ireland or whether I'm in Australia. I was never going to do that. You know, I want to majoritively work on the land. That's the thing. And now I have the tools to, be political or defend myself politically or whatever, without having to fuck off, without having to leave the land. And I think that's the whole point, is the Irish left the land. Right, so the old Irish are taking it back. You know what I mean? And it's a fair trade, because it's like, well, you got Australia.
Yet be just a short drive from a modern town.
And I think there's 3 generations it takes to realise, to start that homesickness to kind of set in and be like, oh, I'm not actually from here. And I think this is what the entire Australian continent is dealing with right now. Right. And it just isn't dealing with it properly. It's dealing with it by throwing fuel on a divisive, racist kind of fucking Squid Game, purge type fucking model that runs, gambling ads and fucking pornography. It's just a fucking nightmare. And who knows what the forethought or the preparations were for all of this. I don't particularly know what led to all these things being based in Ireland. But I'd like to help Ireland and the Irish people that live there, defend themselves and forge a better alliance, a better deal with these entities that have been squatting there. In a productive way. I'm not saying to kick them off. They're not even really there. It's like, you know, once you're down here, you know, my family's influence down here is separated between Western Australia and Tasmania. That's really far. Right? If I think of Queensland, like these are huge distances. And yet there is still this generational curse of this Irish-English conflict. And it's like, that's a fucking stone's throw. And no one's there. You know what I mean? Like, people are in the cities, and it's like, I think there is a really out of control case of, like, whatever it's called, seasonal affective disorder. And I think it works both ways. Every single person I speak to from England, when I say that I want to go back there, they're like, oh, you're going to hate it. It's cold. It's fucking dark. I'm like, I love that. I don't want to be here in this fucking shithole anymore that's hot. Right? And I'm not... It's not because I'm depressed. Well, actually, it is because I'm depressed. I'm exactly as depressed wanting to go there as those people are depressed wanting to come here. Do you know what I mean? It won't take me long to pick up an Irish accent. I guarantee you. A proper one, a real one. I just need to be in that environment. I have no qualms. It's like, in fact, it's like my children are Irish. It's like I have the most need to do this because otherwise it's just a stalemate. Nothing can go anywhere because gigantic fucking organised bureaucratic forces have aligned behind either side of my children's parents. You know, and I want to show that, and I want to show that that's the fucking problem. Do you know what I mean? It's in defence of their mother, whose both parents were Irish, as much as it is them. I don't know whether she's, you know, ever going to come back to the fold or come back to reality. Who knows? But I'm just sick of it. You know, I don't think that in this current era we are served by perpetuating these archetypes. You know, Ireland has a really wonderful history as well of being incredibly spiritual, incredibly connected to the land, incredibly Christian, incredibly Catholic, all of the things. You know, I think this moment of convergence between the Church of England and the Pope, I think it's long overdue. You know, I think that people have made a lot of money off a conflict that majoritively seems to have been not real. You know, it seems to have been like a cash cow for certain you know, parties. It's like when I heard that Sunday Bloody Sunday, it's like there was 15 people killed. You know, I think we're getting a little bit ridiculous when we're fucking, you know, we're claiming this victimhood for this long, and that there's such small numbers. You know, the larger wars were far bigger. The people being disaffected by the technologies is way larger. But I don't want to be like, well, hey, this is all based in Ireland. I'm sick of it because I am Irish. You know what I mean? I just know if my family was, you know, happily located to Tasmania and to Western Australia and Queensland, all these things, it's like we were the first adopters. We weren't newcomers to moving around. My guess is we'd moved around all over the place. And I think it's that.
Tell me to stop. Tell the rain not to drop. Tell the wind not to blow.
Well, it appears that the time has come that a stalemate has been achieved between the feminist onslaught for the last 40 years and the current age, to which you've pushed us so far back that we are now at a point we just don't know what exactly it is you want. I've got a feeling that this was perhaps what has always been going on, and all the needless death and destruction caused in the ensuing 40 years has just kind of been one of those dramatic outbursts and elevations of drama that seem to hallmark the foundation of femininity. But yes, at this historic mark where I find myself about to go online and buy a hijab and declare myself the property of my new girlfriend in order to protect myself from the viewing eyes of men and women, really, and just live a life of service. But I guess it's difficult to understand what it is exactly you would like all the men to be doing. We've spent centuries, millennia, being thrust at spear point and gun point and now needle point to combat our enemy head to head, to try and provide an ever increasing abundance for you to browse through at the supermarket. But I find that all exploits into that arena of providing, if not conveniently contained within digital currency, are rejected, a bit like God rejected Cain's offering. You continuously, as a collective of feminists, mercenaries, are rejecting the offerings that the masculine world is offering. So what can we get just a few delegates on behalf of the entire global front, exactly what it is you would like? Is it the talking? Is that become? Should we lower again? Because I'm ready. I guess I can just internalize everything, bottle it all up, and then jump off a bridge in a couple of years. But perhaps I can take up needle point as well, or crow. What's it called? What's the other type of knitting called? I'm easy with any of them, but I need to hear what there is demand for. Crocheting. Yeah, because as a newly submissive emergent phenomenon, I'm going to find it hard to do any of the manual labour or any of the strenuous activity that does uptick that masculine urge to power. So I'm going to need clear directions. Unfortunately, this has always been the case, that the submissive will need more guidance and clean water and just all the things that I now need to be provided with. Perhaps an activity area where I can exercise, and maybe a scratching post or something like that. I think that should be sufficient to occupy most men. They will need to at some point gather together once a week to kind of simulate some type of warfare activity. This generally has been filled with sport, but it seems like that is now in question as well, because there is a push for those types of sporting activities to be removed and for women to just be celebrated in sport. So I guess I'm ready to fill the position that women were filling, in was it the Victorian age when all of this started? Any of the roles really, a milkmaid or housewife or just well-to-do lady about town, or even in the more nighttime professions. I'm happy to fill any, but I need to hear what the collect, because that's the whole thing. Men controlled women, so I need you to give me clear direction. And obviously, all that direction will lower my self-autonomy to be able to automate my output. I will just be captured, and that's it. So well done, girls, all of you. I think I'll stick to my colours that I've always used, maybe black, and perhaps this will now allow me to wear some very subtle eye makeup, just to make my eyes pop once I'm covered from head to toe, to keep it well known whose property I am. I wish we just had come to this. We could have saved millions of lives, I think, if we just had have got to this conclusion all those years ago. But yeah, women do tend to have to find things out the hard way. So we've got a bit of a situation brewing, I think, at the moment with China, maybe with Russia, and we've got kind of a civil war brewing with some communist powers and some large corporations and resource extraction industries kind of vying for the slavery of the workforce. But I will be, as I said, crocheting under my covering, and perhaps planting a small vegetable garden to provide some well-needed nourishment to those on the front line. Thank you. Well,
know how much they cost?
About $4.20.
No, you might get half of those.
The Sunny Clean 12 eggs from Woolies, they're $8.80 from Coles. They're slightly cheaper at about $8.
If you come inside, things will not be the same when you return to the night. If you think you won, you never saw me change. The game that we have been playing. If you come inside.
You know what I mean? I just know if my family was, happily located to Tasmania and to Western Australia and Queensland, all these things, it's like, we were the first adopters. We weren't newcomers to moving around. My guess is we've moved around all over the place. And I think it's that movement. There were people that kept guard over the whole region, under the Celtic banner, the Celts, under the Druids, under the Bards, under even the Normans and the Saxons. It's like, that's who we are, and we need to shore up our defences, our cultural defences in these lands. We have an absolute mandate to do it, I think, by necessity. It's like that they have to be home base and not as like some type of tourist attraction, like that's kind of what England's turned into. It's like they have to really be there. And I think that's the conflict. It's like, well, okay, England's got all the king's horses and all the king's men. It's like, what about the fucking gigantic fucking churches that were everywhere? They got knocked down by, my ancestors. And that's this moment that most people don't even know. They're more worried about what Kanye West or fucking Beyonce's doing. It's like, that's insane. Kanye has never built a fucking cathedral, or he's never knocked down a cathedral. They just shouldn't be held where they are. It doesn't mean that they're not wonderful artists. I think if you liberated those people from all this fucking social pressure, if they didn't feel like they had to be the spokesman for their entire fucking race or their entire religion or their entire mindset, it's like that. It moves, and it's like, and basically we've had most of the information kept from us. This moment with the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Pope is far larger than Donald Trump and the King.
Okay, so you got a car.
It's far larger because it bleeds out from there. You know what I mean? It's like that. That's the moment before this other moment. And I think all the pieces need to be on the board when that moment comes. I'm not anti the King. I'm not anti-Trump. Right? I just am representing the dark, shadowy entities or nationalities that have traditionally been kept under the blanket or in the shadowy realm, and I think that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's like we need to unify. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be the British Empire and have Australia and New Zealand and all these things and and Canada? What about the Americans? Do you want to be the American Empire? Do you want to have this? And it's like, well, what about Ireland?
That don't impress me.
Do you know what I mean? Are we now allowed to start to rebuild our cultural artifacts? Freed from the attacks. And I hold both sides of this equation. It's complicated. It's like, from my English side, I think the Irish people did have a destructive, kind of reckless, like kind of, and these are massive stereotypes, and there was some civilizational force, but it's like it went too far. And I can't live in a world that is perpetuating these cultural divisions this far abroad, this far and profiting from it. I just think that's insane. It doesn't mean that I don't think that people should be allowed to be divorced, but it's like, in my case particularly, it's like we weren't really even married. We were in a situation that is so human. In fact, I think it's the most human situation there can possibly be. If we can't get that right, no matter what funny hat you wear, no matter what gala dinners you're speaking at, no matter what, if we can't get something that simple, and it's nothing to do with me particularly or her particularly or my children particularly, I think it's the bare minimum, right? And if we're resorting to cannibalistic, bureaucracy and legal conditions, where the only answer is to extract some type of output from that, then I think
inform on your classmates, save your hide. Anything short of that, we're gonna burn you at the stake? Well, gentlemen, when the shit hits the fan, some guys run and some guys stay. Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket. And what are you doing? You're gonna reward George and destroy Charlie. I don't know if Charlie's silence here today is right or wrong. I'm not a judge or jury, but I can tell you this. He won't sell anybody out to buy his future. And that, my friends, is called integrity. That's called courage. Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of. Now I have come to the crossroads in my life. I always knew what the right path was. Without exception, I knew, but I never took it. You know why? It was too damn hard. What is your motto here? Boy,
Then I think, you know, we're at the stage where you know, mass terrorist events are going to become a daily occurrence. You know, we're not going to be able to be kept naive to those it's too there. I think there were a lot of things that were planned by a lot of different interests, you know, relying on the preconditions, you know. But no matter who you are, from top to bottom, you have been modified by these technologies and by these influences. You know, I'm sure it's not just me that looks at a lot of the stuff coming out of the media, out of Hollywood and the movie industry, being like, this, it's missing something. The magic is gone. You know, and the answer is like, well, that's because it was indeed magic. It was both wonderful, you know, positive magic, and it was extremely negative magic. But the magic is dying. And I think the only place that I can personally feel secure in locating myself on a permanent basis is what I consider the most magical place on earth, which is Ireland.
One of the best
it's like this.
wave bands in the world.
I refuse to have these.
I never forget the first time I heard them.
These kind of Middle Eastern concepts of magic and spirituality and mysticism and all these things.
Changed my life.
You know,
blew my mind.
Used as reference for
it was around that time that
for ethnicities and cultures that have nothing to do with them. We're completely disconnected.
What happened.
It doesn't. It doesn't make me anti-Semitic to say that I refuse to have my family's matters be dealt with in Jewish courts.
But something was wrong.
Basically, you know, the court of Hollywood,
it was good to have
the court of Vogue magazine, the court of Kim Kardashian. I just refuse. You know, I think there is an amazing amount of leveling influence that the Jewish people have on extreme versions of, say, Christianity. But I'm not even particularly talking about Christianity. You know, the same way, I feel like the same moment that there's the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury sitting there and the Jews can kind of say, oh, we're here in the background and, you know, we're here as well, we've always been here. I'm like, yeah, I represent an ethnicity, an ethnic background that is exactly the same. You know, and I represent the people that is spread around the world and spread Christianity around the world, which in turn is spreading Judaism around the world. But no one thinks, oh, the Irish are the biggest Jews in the world. Well, it's, you know, I'd like to hear you explain how they're not. How are they not? Christianity, Catholicism, and Anglicanism is an extension of Judaism. You know what I mean? We have a dispossessed story that's exactly the same. But I think there's a moment here where we can learn from the Jewish mistake and say that, listen, we don't want to.
counteract growing Labour control state.
This is inside the Wombles Burrow. Now that's Great Uncle Bulgaria's door leading to his study. Oh, here he is. He seems in a very jolly.
And we don't want to
mood today?
continue on.
No one there.
Identifying ourselves as the global victims. You know what I mean?
What
we can learn
can
from
that
both sides
be?
again. It's like we don't want to identify ourselves as the global victims, and we don't want to identify ourselves as a global empirical fucking, totalitarian.
What are you doing, Orinoco?
Like our English neighbours did, which I'm included within. I've got enough of all of this inside me to speak of these things. I think there's another way. And I think there's an Irish tradition, I think there's an Irish personality and Irish identity that is once stripped from the Guinness leprechaun bullshit. Yeah? Once it gets back to, it's like, the Irish, and it's pretty obvious. It's like, you look at those islands and what was going on around there. Like, yeah, England, there's a reason why we had that. Britain, Scotland has a wonderful tradition of defending against the Romans and this stuff. But it's like, well, there's no doubt in my mind. It's like, yeah, Scotland had its own Caledonian picks and things like that kept that, and that's almost as valid, or it's exactly as valid, right? But the concept of Ireland, it's like that's where you went to get the fuck away from this nonsense, from this noise. It's like if you think about this trend of like tech-free retreats, and that was Ireland, but it wasn't a 2-week, getaway. It was your life, because there wasn't, we weren't as haphazard and kind of flippant with how we would approach our lives in the past. It's like if you were offended down to your core by the culture, by the dominant culture, which that's a really human, that's the majority of humans for the majority of the time. That's where you'd end up in Ireland. You'd end up on the outskirts, right up the fucking edge. You'd build a cathedral or something like that on some fucking island in the middle of nowhere. And just basically project out to the world, just get the fuck away from me, you fucking lunatics. Right? And I think that we can, it manifested geographically when we had only geography. The moment we slipped into the telegraph era and into the telephonic era and now into the internet era, it's just swirling all over the top of each other. It's distributed. It's overlapping just everywhere. Right? So no one, and this is basically to the Australian government or the judiciary or anyone, it's like, well, you don't know where you are, do you? Because realistically, there is no way you could. The moment you get one of the, a family representing, I know I do some strange things, but we've always been strange. So that's not new, but representing the core beliefs, the core foundation of Australia, and I'm being forced to migrate away from Australia so you can maintain your fucking bullshit system. It's like that's exposure there. That's the end of the line. It's like, you've modified your system to deal and to profit from these overlapping ideologies, ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, marital beliefs, spiritual beliefs, religions, all these things. And you're maintaining the division and also destroying the home bases culturally. It's like there should be no doubt that there's been an absolute attack on organised religion for the last 40 years. Now, the thing is that, the largest contributing to that is the psychiatric and the pharmaceutical industry, which is a religion. know, the moment you find that that's a religion, even this scientism, that got hijacked by this industry. They attempted to capture science by using religious doctrine through the lens of a psychiatric pharmaceutical lens. Like that's what happened. So it's like that is a religion. You know, the same way as my mother was identified as a Scottish descendant woman, Scottish woman living in Australia, you know, and was subjected to torture and psychiatric fucking abuse, pharmaceutical abuse. It's like that's the same as happening in Ireland for the Irish people here. But it's so strong. It's like a cult. So it's like I can't forcibly intercede into this because it's the government's religion. And I just think that Australia is too far afield. There's too many cultures going on here. There's too many religions. You know, it's too socialized because that becomes the thing. It's like we're all in this together, right? And what are we building? Well, we have to build something. Well, we have to build hospitals. And that writes the book for itself. But I think that people need to migrate back home and, you know, from all to all regions. I'm not going to not be in England. I just think that it's better suited that I'm in Ireland, and I'm going to make the full leap and
I don't know.
Be in the Republic of Ireland.
You can see the changes that
You know what I mean? And I can't see. It's like, well, hang on. Either Ireland has invaded Australia.
have come over me.
You know what I mean? And if it has, it's like, well, it hasn't done enough work in its geographical region. I just basically want to get to the bottom of this. You know, I want. If my children are going to represent themselves as Irish in Australia, I want Ireland to represent Irish culture from top to bottom. You know, in its full history, not some fucking spec, not some postcard. You know, cooked up in some military fucking intelligence unit in England 150 years ago. That's, you know, I don't want people to think of Irish people around the world as drunk buffoons, you know, and I've even slipped into that myself.
But if I shall become a stranger,
it's a really big problem, and we have the antidote to it all around us, and most people don't think about it. These empires, these ethnicities, these conflicts were kept going with the smallest of imagery, of symbology, right, of pictures. You know, and now we have, how many pictures are in this video this morning? Thousands, hundreds of thousands probably. So it's like we need to step into that future. But I think at the same time as we step into this future and try and colonise. See, I'm not colonising Ireland. My intentions in Ireland is to do nothing that, you know, that people haven't been doing there for thousands of years, more than likely. You know, maybe the odd, like maybe glass. I might be able to use glass, considering that's my history, but nothing else really. In fact, you know, I don't even really want to be connected to electricity and things like that. But on the internet, so I intend on colonising the internet, which is housed and based in Ireland. You know, and colonising it with a multi-ethnic conquest of sorting out all of this mess, and not sitting in the former houses of influence and power, not sitting in, you know, I know I've defended the monarchy, but that's because I think that was the most vulnerable in this digital colonisation. You know, it's like you could accidentally haphazardly start a Bolshevik resolution and kill the king, and it's like once he's gone, it's a lot harder to get him back. So that's the whole point. But it's the same as Ireland. You know, it's like I've started this. I've gone through 2, 3 years, 4 years, well, you know, my entire life really in conflict with the Catholics, only to find that the Catholics are, you know, they're kind of aligned with me in the defensive action against the pharmaceutical cult and things like that.
But if I shall become a stranger,
so the conflict. I've never really been a Christian, right? So the conflict between Protestant and Catholic doesn't make sense. It's like if as long as there are people in Ireland that are suspicious of the pharmaceutical industry and of the psychiatric industry, which I think we should be as Irish people the most concerned. Right, but I think that the English neighbours there, we're a lot closer than we've ever been. We are going to be looking at these behemoths and grasslands, United States, like Australia, differently. Because they're arming themselves.
Never know.
They're arming themselves and preparing for
The
a war
association
that I don't want to take any
Liberty
part in.
Camp,
Right, and it's like if you've all migrated to this warm, lovely tropical place, it's like
is literally resident
we're
around
just,
Stonehenge.
we're going to make it very difficult for you to re-invade Ireland or re-invade England. It's like basically our entire intelligence operation from the Irish perspective can be, have you brought the Irish reputation into disrepute in a foreign land and aligned with a foreign entity that will inevitably bring a threat towards the Irish homeland, and it's like, well, then they're not allowed back. It's that simple. It's like we've got to get really serious with how we approach all of these things. Okay, Australia is a British Empire project, right? So all of that hostility, it's like if you think all the things of Britain, it's like wait till you see the people who have gone against Britain. The enemy of your enemy is not always your friend. If there's one thing the Empire kept, it kept order with its own ranks. I wouldn't change that. There's no way in the world I'm going to attempt to change the cultural standpoint of England. In fact, I look forward to working just as strongly to repair that and to protect that. And that should be England. It should be exactly what you expect. I think it's like we need to start being English again. We need to get people away from fucking England that don't represent English history, and the same with Ireland. Right, and that means Irish people. We need to bring Irish people back or convince them to come back that do represent Irish. And the same as Scotland, same with Wales. There's no threat. When I look down here, it's like we don't want Australia to turn into China's fucking militia of crazy lunatic fucking Mad Max fucking savage fucking crazy people like but that's what's happening. It's like Australia was the people were put here because it was far away. It's like, and I think we need to make Australia far away again. Culture in our minds. It's like it's not a holiday destination. You know what I mean? It's like it's the place, and it doesn't. Not in my case, it's not because my family came here in the conditions to do it, and I'm disappointed in what has happened to Australia. But in most cases, it's the places where the culture comes to die. It's the same, and America is the same. America is actually on its way back, right? And we need to be very careful with how we allow the Americans and the American identity to come back and interact with all the British and all the European nations. It's like these experiments, these radical, gigantic fucking cultural experiments, right? They're dangerous. And they've caused more harm to the core identities of all of those little islands than anything else. It's like, but it's not to say that there aren't people. It's like if the Irish people that are disappointed in the way that America is right now, you know what I mean, and that are longing for like the traditions that they've left. Well, they're the people we want. Same with the Australians, same with everywhere. We've got to understand that there was intermigration for thousands of years before there was this big jump to the United States, which is what created and concreted in these ridiculous stereotypical identities of all of these people, of Poms, of English people, of Irish people, of Scots. These are caricatures that are printed on printing presses and distributed on movie screens and VHS. They're not the real identity. You know what I mean? And to return the favour, especially to the Americans, it's like I understand that Americans are not, their identity. They're not their stereotypical identity. You're a diverse, wonderful bunch, and your conflicts are being held in one land. You know what I mean? And I suppose I want to get back to the source of that and project the highest level reputation from all of those regions and work on making that the strongest priority in combination, in alliance with these digital entities that happen to be located there. Now, I want to see the highest level English identity, and I want to see it protected. I want to see the highest level Irish, the highest level Scottish. If you need to have a break, you know what I mean, then you can go and fight it out in the colonies, which, I know that you might think that's a divisive term, but it's like, well, what else are you going to call it? You've got options. It's like if you're not harmoniously, if you're rejecting the slow and steady culture of your Celtic land, then there are plenty of options, and we will help you to get the fuck off the place. It's a sorting box. It's like, do you want to help us or not? Because there is somewhere you can go. There'll be work. You can, you'll be well looked after, and then you can see what it's like. Yeah. But most of all, as soon as I looked, I was like, okay, well, that's where I want to live. If I'm not welcome there, then I'd like to be forewarned. That's why I've mentioned this to the Irish president. Am I welcome back to my homeland there in Ireland? Or am I a constant outcast for some particular reasons? And that will basically tell me everything I need to know about my children's mother's intentions in Australia. It's going to make it very hard to find. It's like, and I've considered actually her father, who died unfortunately at a young age when she was 17, who was a citizen from Belfast. I'd almost consider him a casualty of war at this stage. I'd petition perhaps his family to exhume his body and to put it in the place that he held as home. But I don't want to, I don't want to overstep the bounds. I just do want to bring it to everyone's awareness that, I'm currently in a situation where my children's mother is attempting to desecrate my body in a way that I think is far worse than the desecration of a grave while I'm still alive. How else do you describe that? Based on a out of control experimental concept of Australianism. I don't know. It's the most dangerous thing I can think of. It's like it's a Ponzi scheme. It's like, people. It's a conveyor belt. You know what I mean? I think that's what people need to understand about Australia. It's like the way it's currently operating is it's a conveyor belt. You jump on, you have a good ride, and then you fall off the end. And as long as the people getting on don't see the people falling off at the end, then it keeps working. But I'm never going to fall off that fucking thing because I didn't. When my family came here, it wasn't a conveyor belt. It was a beautiful, hopeful new concept, a new place. And unfortunately, it's gone to shit. So on that note, I'm going to go lay down because I do feel absolutely terrible. So I hope you appreciate the commitment to my Irish migration. Even under the circumstances of being unwell. And I just would really appreciate an actual answer. I don't want to go and shift things and move and do all this shit if I'm going to be ran out of town with pitchforks. I think, it's the least that everyone could do. I think we need to get these things out in the open. It's the same. It's like if Irish people are going to be attacked in Australia, or Scottish people, or English people, it's like, I don't know who these Australians are, my guess is that they're the least Australian, but they're just a divisive kind of groups, more than likely. Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening.
I can no longer stay and watch the new glass cages spring up along the quay. My mind's too full of memories, too old to hear new chimes. I'm a part of what it was Dublin in the rare old times.
A plan is better than no plan. That's a really useful thing to know, especially if you're kind of drifting. It's like, well, I'm going to find myself. It's like, no, just pick something and move towards it. And as you move towards it, you're going to succeed and fail specifically. And then you're going to learn something about success specifically, and you're going to learn something about failure specifically. And then you can learn what you use to fix your plan. So a stupid plan is way better than no plan. And you're likely to have a stupid plan, or at least to be able to make one. So that's good news for everybody. You can make a stupid plan. And so I would say, make a stupid plan. And then implement it. Not any stupider than it has to be. You know, you could think about it a little bit, but then implement it. And have your successes and failures along the way, and learn from them. And then you can rejig the goal. You can move the target.
As the news spread through the border town, young Aidan McInnesby was slain. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You said it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Lockall and Gibraltar, your lies are well renowned. You murdered Aidan McInnesby on his way to the Gaelic crown. For years he was harassed by the forces of the crown as he went to work every day.
I'm gonna send you back to school. Wait down inside, woman, you need. Gonna give you my love. Gonna give you my love. Want a whole lot of love. Want a whole lot of love. On a cold, well, afternoon in the room full of emptiness by a freeway, I confess I was lost in the pages of a book full of death, reading how we'd die alone if we could. We'll lay to rest anywhere we wanna go. In your house, alone to be. Roam my room. Wanna go well, afternoon in the
say, and sure enough, they murdered him in cold blood that sunny day. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You said it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Lockall and Gibraltar, your lies are well renowned. You murdered Aidan Magnusby on his way to the Gaelic ground. The people heard the gunfire, they came from miles around. They saw the young man lying there, dying on the ground. His hold on life was fading fast. The people, they tried their best. That bullet wounded was fired too deep. It went right through his chest. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say?
Did you see everything you needed to see?
Said it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Lockall and Gibraltar,
Why does the
your
sword
lies are
reveal
well
itself now?
renowned. You murdered Aidan Magnusby on his way to the Gaelic ground. The Born King will come. It is. Aidan's life had its days.
He felt it.
For judgment day.
The power.
Soldier, he jumped down from
heard any
the tower. The
or
coward,
any
he
desire to
slipped
achieve it.
away. God's curse on
That's what all the fuss is about.
Tanya.
Don't worry. You'll soon understand what all the fuss is about.
Are you scared?
I think I can manage.
You should be scared.
Whatever it takes to hunt him down.
If
I go down, you follow him. If he goes down, you follow me.
You want him to think big? Give him something big to think about.
You wanted the prophecy. This is your prophecy. The man who pulled sword from stone. Behold, your born king.
To say it was an accident is the greatest crime of all. To his heart, a broken family is the worst that could befall. Across it marks
I want her back.
Well,
of course you do.
Nothing unifies a people like a common enemy.
I won't rest till I've burned Troy to the ground.
I thought you wanted peace with Troy.
I should have listened to you.
Peace is for the wounded.
The Trojans have never been conquered.
The weak.
Agamemnon has wanted to destroy us for years.
I'll attack them with the greatest force the world has ever seen. Empires are forged by war. Hector commands the finest army in the East.
Since Hector's, he's good a warrior, as they say. The best of all the Trojans.
An insult to me is an insult to you. And an insult to me is an insult to all the Greeks.
One last thing. Some say he's better than all the Greeks, too.
We need Achilles and his myrmidon. This will be the greatest war the world has ever seen. We need the greatest warrior.
Are the stories about you true?
I knew they would come for you. They want you to fight in Troy.
This war will never be forgotten.
We'll not fight for him.
Nor will the heroes who fight him.
Think how many songs they'll sing in your honor.
I'm not asking you to fight for him. We were born for this war. I'm asking you to fight for Greece.
If you go to Troy, glory will be yours. They will write stories about your victories for thousands of years. The world will remember your name.
He can't be controlled. We don't need to control him. We need to unleash him.
Achilles!
Look at the men's faces.
On my command!
That man was born to end lives. You can end this war with a swing of your sword. The man wants to die. Achilles is the past. Look how many battles that were won off the edge of his sword. We need him, my king.
Is there no one else? Who are you, soldier? Is there no one else? Achilles, son of Peleus. I remember the name.
And you dare to
At night I see their faces. All the men I've killed. Standing there on the far bank of the river Styx.
when I think of all
Waiting for me.
that you have done.
They say, welcome, brother. We men are wretched.
You have plundered many nations, divided many lands. You have terrorized their people. You ruled with an iron hand, and you brought this reign of terror to my land. Through those many months, internment in the Maidstone and the maze, I thought about my land throughout those days. Why my country was divided, why I was now in jail, imprisoned without crime or without trial. And though I love my country, I am not a bitter man. I've seen cruelty and injustice at first hand. So then, one faithful morning, I shook bold freedom's hand. For right or wrong, I tried to free my land. And you dare to call me a terrorist while you look down your gun. When I think of all the deeds that you have done. You have plundered many nations, divided many lands. You have terrorized their people. You ruled with an iron hand, and you brought this reign of terror to my land. Then one cold October's morning, trapped in the lion's den, I found myself in prison once again. I was committed to the H blocks for 14 years or more. The blankets, the conditions, they were poor. Then a hunger strike we did commence for the dignity of man. But it seemed to me that no one gave a damn. But now I am a saddened man. I've watched my comrades die. If only people cared or wondered why. And you dare to call me a terrorist while you lock down your gun. when I think of all the deeds that you have plundered many nations, divided many lands. You have terrorized their peoples. You rule with an iron hand, and you brought this reign of terror to my land. May God shine on you, Bobby Sands, for the courage you have shown. May your glory and your fame be widely known. And Francis Hughes and Ray McCreesh, who died unselfishly, and Patsy O'Hara, the next in line is me. And those who lie behind me, may your courage be the same. And I pray to God my life was not in vain. Ah, but sad and bitter was the year of 1981. For everything I lost and nothing's won.
G'day, Nick Dundee from Australia. How are you? I'm fine, how are you? Town for a couple of days, probably see you around.
Why do you think it did resonate so much?
I think the credibility of the character. I was ordinary, and therefore,